Hello, and welcome to the first segment of No One in Real Life Wants to Listen to Me Talk About My Hyperfixation, so I'm just gonna info dump on TikTok instead. So welcome to my seminar on cult brainwashing. So basically, what a cult does to brainwash you is to change your attachment style to a disorganized attachment. When you are growing up, when you're a child, there are 4 different attachment types that you can develop depending on if your caregiver actually provides you with the things that you need. So ideally, most people would have a secure attachment, but there's also an avoidant attachment, an anxious attachment, and a disorganized attachment. The disorganized attachment happens when a child receives love and comfort, sometimes from the parent, but is also threatened by the parent. And so they feel this cognitive dissonance in their head, and instead of fight or flight, they freeze. So a lot of times children will dissociate, they'll become confused, they'll try and go towards the parent while avoiding them too. And that's basically what a cult is trying to do to its members. When a cult is harming a person, but also providing them with a sense of comfort, community, love, and manipulating them in this way, it causes a dissociation and all of this cognitive dissonance that causes their attachments to become disorganized. So basically, these people become deployable tools for the cult because they have frozen up and can no longer think critically. Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of Kim infodumping her hyperfixation on TikTok because no one in real life wants to listen to me rant about cult brainwashing psychology. So today, I'm going to start with what actually makes up a cult, which is 3 characteristics. The first one being they have to have a strong charismatic leader who gradually becomes the object of worship over time as the original ideas of the group become less and less important. The second thing that it needs to have is some evidence of a thought reform program, otherwise known as brainwashing, or coercive persuasion. There's lots of names for it. A guy named Lipton actually named 8 of these points, and we'll circle back to those points, but basically a cult needs to have 6 out of 8 of those to be considered a thought reform program. The third thing that defines a cult is exploitation of some kind. So there's a lot of ways that cults exploit members, obviously. There is spiritual abuse, emotional abuse, free labor, child labor. They can be medical neglect, child abuse. There's literally, the list goes on. Financial exploitation. There's a lot of ways that cults abuse members. So circling back around to the second point, when you join a cult, 3 things are going to happen. First, they're going to unfreeze your personality. So basically, this happens by breaking down your sense of self and your personality. And there's lots of ways that they do this. The second is the indoctrination stage, after you have reached that point of just mentally giving up on critical thinking. That's when they indoctrinate you. And then the third thing that's going to happen to you is refreezing your personality how they want it to be. So this is reinforcing all of the cult ideology, usually through the group and through maintaining isolation within the group. Tune back in for part 3, where I'm going to go over Lifton's 8 points of thought reform. Hello TikTok, and welcome back to my cult series. I'm going to tell you about Jay Lifton's 8 points of thought reform, also known as coercive persuasion or brainwashing in pop culture. So basically, how do cults control people? The first way is milieu control, and it's controlling the environment, so you can only talk to people within the group. You're kind of isolated and in a bubble from society. It's just basically controlling the environment. The second one is mystical manipulation, basically faking supernatural things, saying that these ordinary happenings are omens or prophecies, or even staging an entire supernatural event. It's basically just tricking members into thinking that there's something supernatural going on. The third one is demand for purity. So members have to abide by these specific doctrines, or they are impure, they're sinful. It's very black and white. This is good, this is bad. Then it would be confession, the fourth one. So some cults manipulate their members through confession. They'll blackmail you with that information. They will break down your self-esteem with that information. They will make you feel vulnerable by confessing. They can keep tabs on who is conforming to the group and who is not. And then the next one is sacred science. So basically, this is the way that you get saved. Our doctrine is the only thing that can get you saved. This doctrine is like magical. It's above everything else. It is sacred. And then the sixth one, sorry, I'm looking at my notes, loading the language. So these are thought-altering cliches. Think Scientology referring to outsiders as suppressive persons to convey a certain idea to the members that are using it. Or Christians talking about walking with the Lord. It's just the jargon of the group, basically. And then the seventh one is doctrine over person. So even if my experiences personally are different, the doctrine's always right, and my personal experiences have to be reinterpreted within that light. Then the last one is dispensing of existence. So the people within the group are the only valid ones, basically. The rest, it's not literally deciding who exists and who not, but who doesn't. But it's rejecting people when they leave and shunning them. It's thinking that the outside world is evil, that they don't have a right to be and to have their opinion. Hi, Kim here. On this page, I talk about autism and I talk about my special interest, which is cults. And today I'm going to talk about both of them and how they intersect. So I watched a video recently called Do Cults Prey on Autistic People? It was a really good video. I definitely recommend looking it up. And I am also reading the book Unmasking Autism, which is a great book, by the way. Highly recommend it. And the author just mentioned that one way that some autistic people can cope with life is to join a cult. And as someone who is autistic and was religiously fanatic as a young person, I wanted to give my input on this. So, for me, religion provided a set of rules and a set of structure to life. There's literally a book you can read full of rules for life and what to do and what not to do. And real life doesn't have a book of rules and a set of things that you can just follow to fit in and be in the in-group. Whereas religion, there's very much things that you can do to be in the in-group that are clearly defined. And doing these things gives you a social circle of friends who are going to love bomb you and give you positive reinforcement when you do those particular things. It also forces people into a black and white mindset. And for those of us on the spectrum, we're already there. We are already in a black and white mindset. They're trying to take normal people who think in grayscale and, a lot of nuance to everything and, train them to do what our brain already does, which is to sort things into categories of black and white. So, for example, there's the in-group, the out-group, there's the heretics and there's the saved people, there's good or there's bad, there's sin or there's holiness. And that really made sense in my brain. I could package the world into little neat boxes that made sense, and real life does not work like that. So I don't know if cults can necessarily target autistic people specifically. Maybe they do, but I think it'd be kind of hard to tell. Personally, I just think that autistic people are extra susceptible to this kind of mind control and indoctrination, unfortunately. And it creates a lot of religious trauma for autistic people, and, some autistic people never get out of those things. So it can be a way for autistic people to experience emotions, contextualize life, and to make everything make sense. Hi friends, I just finished take 1 of an 8-part series that I am going to do about my special interest in Scientology. Please humor me, let me infodump. I am excited to share it. No one in real life ever lets me infodump about Scientology, and I guarantee you it is more interesting than you would expect. So comment if you want to stay on Cult Talk.